Hello and welcome to another Summer Live with me. I am Ree from mummyoffour.com. How on earth are you? I'm really enjoying our little chats, our Tuesday night chats this summer. Oh my goodness, I've got myself coming up with my own speakers. That's really disorientating. Okay, let's turn that off, otherwise this is going to be a terrible echo. Right, how are we all? Thank you for joining me. Today we are talking about back to school. I just asked some people to send in some random questions on Instagram about back to school. We're just going to talk about all things back to school. Let me know in the comments which of your children are heading back to school, which ages are they? They start in new schools, they start in new classes, new teachers, how are they feeling about it? Are they excited? Are they not excited? What are they struggling with? And how done are you with back to school, shopping and stuff, and where are you in the world and when do your children go back? So my children go back the first week of September, or the first few days of September. It might actually be the second week because I think the 1st of September is halfway through a week, isn't it? But I know some places, I think Scotland go back earlier, and definitely a lot of places in America seem to go back to school in August. So just do some quick hellos. Hi Jess, hi Jackie, hi, I never know how to pronounce your name. Is it Walya? Hello, Lucy. Jess again, eldest daughter starting reception in September. Your videos have been so helpful. I'm so glad. Where are you in the country, Jess? Because I know, like in Wales, our children start school. At very least, the school year in which they turn 4, they get national, like the nursery. I mean, it's a bit confusing here in the UK because nursery, we call nursery childcare, but we also call nursery the first class, which is before reception. It's generally a half-day class, either the mornings or the afternoons. Generally, where I live at least, and in our school, the day after they turn 3, they can start an afternoon nursery, but it's not childcare, it's actually a class in the school. Then the school year in which they turn 4, they go up to morning nursery and they finish at lunchtime. And then they start reception school year in which they turn 5. So I know they don't necessarily have that in England, and there's like a paid for like a 30-hour thing you can use, but I guess we're quite lucky really in Wales that we have this sort of nursery thing because it helps prepare them for reception. So are you ready, Jess, for your daughter to start reception? Are you excited? And let me know if the tips have helped. Which one especially, which ones are you going to be implementing? Right, so Lucy says, would love to know some school tips that you wish you know before your kids started school. First child starting school and reception. Right, I've got a specific dedicated video to starting school, but there is also a blog post. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I've got a blog post that I can show you here. But you can read on my blog called Everything You Need to Know Before Your Child Starts School. So we can talk about that in just a second. I think I've had so many questions about that. I'm just going to go through some of my top tips from that, but I have got this as my cheat notes. There we go. So hi Susan, hi Jackie. Kids all grown up and married, but I love your vlogs and your lives. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Just here for just a good old chit chat. That's lovely. Hi Sarah, Danielle. How can I keep red jumpers bright? They fade so quickly. I think it's just a case of washing them on their own and not doing too hot or too long if they're not that dirty. I think that's the key for all of them. Washing them on their own, washing cooler as well. And I find tumble drying things really wears things more. So if you've got expensive, so for example, my children's uniform, most of it is supermarket uniform. So I abuse it. It goes in the dryer. It's whatever. But our clothes like this, our nice clothes that we wear, our art school uniform, I don't abuse as much because I don't want them to wear out as much. And I feel like our school uniform, like navy and stuff, is quite hard wearing. Perhaps if it was reds or if it was perhaps a bit more expensive, I would just hang it up on hangers in our airing cupboard rather than tumble dry. And that could be a little way to stop it fading so quickly. Elizabeth says, hi, my middle son starting secondary school in September. The biggest thing for secondary school. So my eldest has gone right through secondary school. He's going to university in September. That's a whole other story. The biggest thing, I will tell you. Let me just grab a folder, I'll explain. Where are the folders? Here we go. So basically, what I mean folders, I mean these. Literally, get one of these for each of your child's subject. Honestly, this is a game changer because I don't know about you. When I was in school, I was so disorganised. I never had the right books with me. They would give me a worksheet. It would be crumpled in the bottom of my bag. I would never see it again. the first I'd remember if we had homework, because when I sat down the lesson and they go, can you hand in your homework? And I'd be like, what homework? I had 0 organisation skills and 0 kind of enforced on me, if that makes sense. So when my eldest started school, we just did a folder like this, and you can get slightly bigger ones than this because some like books are slightly bigger than this. So some of the books, I don't know what size they're called, but are quite big. So this is an A4 one, and I just put stickers on here, like labeling stickers, and each one I just put the subject name. And then if you want to get a bit more like helpful getting your child get organised, you can put the subject name, and you can put like the day they have it, the room they have it, the teacher they have it, all that kind of stuff. So you can trust them to do it if they're one of those children that will do that. So like maybe William would do that a bit when he gets to secondary school, but I am going to help him obviously initially the first couple of years. So then all you do, so when my son went to school, it was 5 subjects a day. So you have 1 for every subject: geography, history, maths, All I had to do was say, right, go and pack your 5 folders plus your pastoral folder. So there'd be 5 subject folders and 1 folder that just had homework diary, any sheets that were for me, any permission slips, things like that. And sometimes they'd go in empty. It'd be like, geography folder empty. I'd say, I don't care, just pack it anyway. Because if your geography teacher gives you something, you can put it in the folder. And then I'd say, show me your bag, right, which subjects you got tomorrow, geography, maths, Show me the 5 folders, be like, right, okay, cool, done, sorted. And then you can like look through, keep an eye on things a bit better, and you just won't end up with crumpled papers in the bottom of the bag. So that system just absolutely changed the game for starting secondary school. It kind of empowered the children, it just gives them a bit more like control over knowing what they're doing, and makes them think a little bit about what they've got coming up in the day and things. Perhaps maybe remember to do some homework, just maybe. So there, yeah, that's the biggest one for starting secondary school. So we're going to talk about some starting Little Baby School in just a second, once we've gone through some more comments. Summer, hi. Steph, hello. Mel, Newcastle, back first week in September. Jess, in England, she'll go straight into full time. Oh, that's. I mean, it's lovely because you get them home a bit longer, but it feels like a bigger jump, doesn't it? So for us, it was like a big jump to start half days. But they're fine. I think we worry about them, and then they have a little wobble. One thing I would like to prepare you for. One thing that I'm not sure I wrote in the blog post, so I'm going to share with you now. Day 2's the day. Okay, so on day 1, when your child starts school, you'll be like, they're going to be okay. Are they going to be okay? And then the best thing you can do is stay really brisk and upbeat and be like, okay, mummy's going now, right, bye, and like it. Because the last thing that is going to help your child is you being, are you going to be okay, darling? Mummy will miss you. And like the teary, clingy mummies are the ones that the teachers are like, can you just go now? Because they're going to be fine when you go, okay? And even if they start getting a bit teary, a brisk goodbye, they're far more likely to recover and settle quicker than if you're like lingering. Don't be the mum that the teacher has to kick out of the class, because that's always awkward. And the teachers are always like, please don't do that. Please don't do it. So if you speak to like someone who's a teacher, jump in with me here and confirm this. It's not helpful, is it? It's not helpful. So it's really hard to do. But if you're going to have a good cry, get out the door and down the corridor and out, just get out of your child's line of sight before you have a good old cry. You can have a good old cry outside the gates if you want to. There'll be lots of other mums doing that. But, just save it until your child can't see you, because it will help them in the long run. So the problem is lots of children lull their parents into this false sense of security. And I don't know if you want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you just because I wish someone had told me. So generally, the first day you'll be like, oh, was that it? They kind of like, bye then. And then they're fine. And then on the second day, it's like, come on then, off to school. And they're like, no, I did school. You know how you said I was going to go to school? Well, I went, and now it's done. It's like, well, you have to go every day. And they're like, no, I went to school. School is finished. I've done school. And they're over it. And that is when you may see, and you'll notice, even if it's not necessarily your child, the children perhaps being like, oh, I have to do this every day. I didn't sign up for that. My mummy told me I was going to go to school, and I went, and she didn't say I had to go every day, quite frankly, and I'm not impressed with her. And that's the day that you may have a few wobbles. So that's the day you just want to kind of prepare yourself. The hug button worked really, really well, where you draw like a little heart on you, a little heart on your child. And if they're feeling sad, or if you're feeling sad, you can squeeze the hug button and then that will send them a magic hug. There's a book called The School Unicorn, which is really lovely, about a little magic unicorn that goes to help a little girl that feels worried. That's a really, really lovely book. I'm sure I've linked that in some blog posts and videos and things. I've got a massive Back to School playlist and loads of resources. If you just go to my blog, along the top, it says, I'll show you, along the top of the blog, if you go to blog, and then here there's a little tab that goes, like you click on the blog and then there's a drop down menu and one of them is Back to School. So if you're on there, there's absolutely loads if you feel like you want to read some resources. But yeah, the School Unicorn book is really, really good. Read that to the children and just preparing them. If you can find any photos, now I do this a lot because my children have autism, so they need a lot of preparation. But to be honest, I think what works for children with autism generally works for children. So preparing them with any kind of anything you can do to show them what it's going to be like. So photographs of the room. Sometimes the school websites will be really good, or if the school have got like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook pages, there might be photos of the class, photos of the hall, photos we're going to have lunch, anything like that. If you took any photos, and it's probably a bit late to like tell you this now, but you know, if you go in future for like looking round days, ask, and you probably won't be able to take photos with like children in them, but say, can I have a photo of this room? And then maybe the teacher could send you a photo of the room that is going to be your child's classroom, a photo maybe of where they've got to hang up their coats, that kind of thing. And it forms something called a social story, where you can say, right, well, you know, you're going to go in the morning, hang your coat up here and da 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 da, and explain to them what's going to be happening and just make it a bit less daunting. The same way as obviously lots of places, if you go in places like, you know, we go on a trip or something, I'll always show the children a vlog of where we're going, so they can get a feel for it. It's a bit more difficult because obviously there aren't vlogs of going to the school your child is going to go to. But there will probably be other things on TV that you can show them. Peppa Pig is always good. If you've got very small children, there's the episode, you know, you've got to take your children to the dentist, show them the episode of Peppa Pig with you at the dentist. Show them the episode of Peppa Pig where George goes to school. You know, that's obviously, it's Peppa Pig. It's not the exact same building or anything, but it gives you the general gist of it. Topsy and Tim on BBC iPlayer tend to have, you know, they went to school. And there's that one with the girl and the spider. What's that called? Where the general premise of most episodes is a little Scottish girl has a bit of a strop about something. The spider tells her it's not so bad and to sort her attitude out, and then she's better. What's that called? Willy and Tig. There's an episode of Willy and Tig where she goes to school and she doesn't like it. Then the spider says, hey, it's not so bad. And then she puts herself together. So you could show them that. But yeah, so that's, there are quite a lot of options, but definitely show them things. Right, let's go through, I've got some questions. I should probably go through some questions, shouldn't I? Right. Some other things I wanted to tell you before your children start school. Label everything. Like only if you want to see it again, like stick a label on it. So I use the my name tags. If you go to mummyof4.com, as in my blog.com/labels, it'll take you straight there. Someone type that in the comments for me, that'd be really helpful. mummyof4.com/labels. I've never heard label or labels, I think. And anyway, that'll take you straight there. It's also all linked in here. Look, all the labels I use and everything are linked on the blog. But yeah, these are really good. I like them because they're dishwasher safe. They go in the care labels of clothes. So you stick them, don't wash them for 24 hours, and then they last. You can abuse them in the washer, in the dryer, and the dishwasher. So you can put them on lunch boxes. You can put them on in their shoes, on their wellies, inside their coats. I'd also recommend putting the phone number in there. You could put, you know, your family name. You could be like Jones family or whatever. And then you can use the same labels for all your children. So we've got generic family labels on things that, like, I don't know, like, it's not even Tupperware, is it? Like Systema stuff that any of the children might end up using. And then they've got specific name stuff so we can hopefully see their coats and jumpers again if they get thrown into lost property. But also those are really handy just for any children. I can't tell you how many times Zara has thrown shoes out the pram as a baby and someone has phoned me and gone, I've just found an ordered shoe. It happened more times than I'd care to remember. So right, let's go back to some more comments. So Susan, my youngest daughter, is going into year 8. I home educate my eldest daughter. She's going into year 10 GCSEs. Wow, they grow up really fast, don't they? Going to college in September, waiting for my GCSE results on the 25th of August. Well, good luck for that. Hope you're feeling all excited about that and okay about it. Elizabeth says, that's great, thanks. I can't remember what I said, but I'm glad it was helpful. Right, Steph says, my eldest is going into year 8, middle one's going to year 4. My youngest is going to reception. Not ready for her to go to reception. I have some concerns nursery didn't see with her. Oh, right, okay. Talk to the teacher about your concerns and just ask them to look out for things, because they might see things in school that they don't see at home. The other thing is, a lot of children mask a lot in school, so they might not see things, or the things that they see may not be as obvious. The other thing you might find is children mask more until they become comfortable. So your children, if your child has got symptoms of, say, ASD, might mask more before they know the teacher. You might find that there's more like masking in school and then coming home and having a meltdown. You will probably find, this is something to remember for all children, especially small children or children with ASD, don't plan a lot after school when the first week or so of school. Like, keep it to a minimum, because it absolutely wipes them out. They've gone from just doing what they want in the summer, even if they've had a really like normal bedtime. I've just realised I've still got a Disney logo up here. What an idiot. Right, let's just swap that. On the wrong channel. I was doing the Disney live earlier. Sorry guys, let's put that one on. What was I even saying before I noticed my wrong label? Yeah, so your children will be tired. They're going to be really, really tired. So just allow them some like decompression time after school. I made the mistake, because I was convinced when Bella started school, bearing in mind we don't know about any autism or anything, I was convinced she was going to be fine. She was desperate to go to school. She'd been to like the little school play group with me. She talked about going to school endlessly, and she'd already been to dancing, but it was like mummy and baby dancing. And the same week, which with hindsight I never would have done again, the same week she started school, she then also started dancing where I left her there. And it was just too much, far too much, very overwhelming. And I think the combination of the two caused her to be more anxious than if we hadn't bothered. So I definitely would, like with hindsight, start school, like leave any after school activities for a little bit, and then start closer to half term, like end of September, beginning of October, before starting any other activities. So if you're thinking about starting them in swimming or not guides are too little for that, but you know, anything like rainbows or whatever, just take a breath, see how they do with school. They're probably going to be really zonked after school. Yeah, that would be what I would do given my time again at that stage. Right, so Lindsay says, in Scotland where I am, the kids go back tomorrow. See, that feels so early for us, but I think you guys must have broken up quite a lot earlier. So Scotland, do they basically break up like in June? So my youngest is going to P5. Is that the same as year 5? So P5, is that like a 10-year-old? Primary 5, I guess. And my oldest is starting high school. So is that the same as secondary school? Is that like 11? I feel like I'm going to need my tissues in the morning. I know. It is a lot, isn't it? And it always feels like when they make a big jump, like they're going up to the juniors or they're going up to the secondary school, or it's your youngest starting, it's always a bit, isn't it? So what advice would you give for college? Pick subjects you love. That's what I would say I would advise for college. Pick things because you finally get to choose. And you might have already made your choices, but they do let you move around a bit. Pick things you love, because if you're doing something because you think it's the right thing to do, or you're doing something because it's what your parents want you to do, sorry parents, it's going to be a hard old slog. If you're doing something because you're genuinely interested in it, so my eldest, he did 4 GCSEs, A-levels, did photography, graphics, we're waiting for results later this week actually, photography, graphics, the other one, psychology, which he wanted to do drama but they weren't running drama class. He would have been really good in drama because he is very good in drama. What is the other one? Did another one. Oh, media studies, because he wants to go into computer animation, which is what he's going to do in university. Now, doing the graphics especially was never like work. It was like tinkering around with like creating really like creative logos and things, and he always picked topics that he was really interested in, like lots about music and stuff. And although it was work, it didn't feel as much like work as, say, the psychology one was. The psychology was a bit like pulling teeth, but the other subjects and in all fairness, he only ended up doing psychology because it was like he couldn't pick the one he wanted because it wasn't running. But if you're doing things you love in college, and that's your first opportunity to really have like a lot of free reign to pick, if you do something that you love, or you're doing something, I mean, maybe you want to be a doctor and you've got to do certain subjects and you're not going to love all of them, but like you've got like a passion for what you're going to be doing at the end. There's some sort of drive in there. Either ideally it's something you kind of would be interested or would read up on anyway. Then it's never going to feel as much like work. If you're in flow and you're enjoying it, it's not going to be as hard. That's the biggest one, to be honest, because that's what I hope my eldest, who's going off to do, because he's picked something that he's going to love, it's not going to feel too much like work. So college is the start of that, really. Okay, finally going to get around to some questions that were sent in. All right, can you recommend shoes that last for a boy? My son went through a pair of Clark shoes in a week. Ooh, I know. Boys' shoes, the bane of my life, to be honest. Whenever I've taken William to Clark's, I've just been like, can you just bring me something I don't hate, please? And I've been like, oh, boys' shoes are just, they're so miserable. The lack of choice and designs and things, and then the boys do abuse them. I personally have found, I actually got shoes from Next for Will. It depends how strict the school are. So I know when Will goes to secondary that he's going to have proper like school shoes, like leather, you know what I mean, school shoes. So, and I did struggle more getting that kind of shoes for Dylan. But this last year or so, William's just had like Next, like sort of like surfy trainery type things, like they're from Next, but they're somewhere between like a Vans and a Converse type thing. And they've actually lasted great. So try Next and see how that works out for you. But yeah, boys' shoes are just one of the things I'm always a bit like, oh. They're like, you can get quite cute ones when they're little and they just become awful. So let me know actually if you can find anywhere where do you buy boys' shoes that are not hideous, because I do struggle. Okay, tips on dealing with new parents or the school mums. I struggle with clicks. Oh yeah, okay. This is a difficult one because you're going to be stuck with, if you've got clicks and people that you don't click with, shall we say, you're probably going to be stuck with these people for a long time. So the best thing you can do, you don't have to like be absolute besties with them. The best thing you can do is get to know as many people as possible. The good way to do this is set up a WhatsApp group. So there is a parent, like you can know who everyone is and get to know everyone, and like make sure everyone says, hi, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so's mum, on the WhatsApp group, and you can kind of put their names in your phone with a picture if you can, because that helps remembering. I've always got everyone as so-and-so, so-and-so, first name and last name, because otherwise I've got like a million Sarahs on my phone. And then their job description is like so-and-so's mum, so that I can find them. Even if I can't remember the mum's name, I can remember the child's name. So even if you don't like know everyone, you've kind of got access to everyone's phone number for when you've got to do parties and things. Parenting WhatsApp groups can get a bit noisy, especially if you've got lots of children, you're in a lot of them. They can get quite like, sometimes you have to mute them because there's just so much going on in them. Like sometimes there's a lot, if there's like 30, 40 parents in a group and there's a lot of chit chat going on, it can be quite overwhelming. So just like, rather than having to leave a group because you find it overwhelming, you can just mute it and then go back to it when you've got time. So like, for example, I have to mute the parents' WhatsApp groups just while I'm working. I have to, all WhatsApp. I have to mute my phone entirely while I am working, because otherwise I'm like ping all day, and all I would do is look at WhatsApp and then I wouldn't get any work done, which wouldn't help anyone. So just know it's okay to like mute a group, and then you can just go into it when you need to like read it, and you can read it all and then come out again. That's okay to do. Clicks can be difficult because it can kind of feel like when your child's starting school, like you're starting school as well, and you don't know where the yard is and like where you're supposed to stand and who's who. And it can be really intimidating if lots of the mums already know each other because they've already got children like further up the school. I totally get it can be intimidating. Just speak to people, because to be honest, if you're feeling like that, other people are going to be feeling like that too. And it can feel a bit, definitely get to know people, just chat to them. Don't feel awkward because everyone's feeling awkward. But the other thing is just get to know the teachers as well. If you can offer to, you know, help out with things, or just, I find as a child with children with additional needs, you naturally get to know the teachers quite well. But it doesn't always happen. But the more you get to know the teachers, the more of like a rapport you can build with them, the easier the whole school career thing's going to be. But yeah, just know that it's not just your child starting school, it's you too. And I get that it feels like you're back in school. But just know you're not the only one. You're not the only one feeling like that at all. So do you do charts or rewards if they get ready in time? Now, what we do is we have like free time. We have buffer time built into our morning routine. I've actually got a morning routine video that I filmed at the end of the summer term. So the furniture's all different, children in their summer uniform. You're like, Ree, when did you film this? I filmed it ages ago, but then I realised I was literally about to release it, and it was like the day the children broke up from school. I thought, no one is going to want to watch a school morning routine first day of summer. Like, I do not want to watch back to school. I would be like, really, leave me alone with the school stuff. It's the first day of summer. So I kind of shelved that. We did some like more summary content, and so now it's back. It's from a few weeks ago. So that's why I did not take my children to school just to film that video, just to let you know. But all in that video, I do explain about a morning routine. I've got lots of morning routine videos on my channel if you want lots of ideas, and I've done tips videos about morning routines. There are blog posts about morning routines. I'll be doing more stuff about morning routines in like when we go back to school. But basically, I build in some buffer time for when things inevitably go wrong. And if everything goes well in the mornings, that buffer time is the children's playtime, and it's a bit of time for me to like, put some washing on or whatever, and just do some like pottering around the house and get some things going before we leave. If things are going a bit pear-shaped and we have not got everything done, then the children we just run out of time for them to play or do whatever they want to do. So it's not so much, I don't necessarily use a reward chart. I have used like tick charts before now, because I've said, and I've got all those in printables in my Ultimate Mum Bundle. If you go to mummyof4.com/join the club, then the Ultimate Mum Bundle has got all those printables in there. So you can give your child a tick chart and be like, look, when you have done these things, you may play. Until the bell goes. I do have alarms going off for my sanity, so I know we're not going to be running late and I'm like checking my watch all the time. I've got an alarm going. I have an alarm going on. It's time. We need to make our way down for breakfast. So we're like, come on. It's actually 5 minutes before we need to be down for breakfast to give me a chance to like finish doing my hair and whatever. So kind of like a little heads up, a little reminder of the time. And then we have another one when it's time to finish breakfast and go and get ready. And then when all that's done, they can play. And then there's another one again. You don't have to do this if it feels a bit extra. It's just what works for us. But there's another one again where it's actually time to put shoes and coats on. And by doing that, I feel like that runs on autopilot without me having to clock watch. And that's what stresses me out. And also then it's the alarm going, children, it's time for your shoes, not me going, you know. So I probably still prompt them as well. But it does help. I feel like it's someone else, even if it's just my phone. They know. So I set different songs. I choose songs they like upbeat things that they'll sing along to. And that's what I choose for each of those alarms. And I suggest you do the same for your children because it really, really works. But yeah, I just basically build a buffer time in that they can use for playing if all goes smoothly. How do you prepare your children with autism, who has autism superpower for the new school term? So again, I think we touched on it earlier. If you've got any photographs of the school, it's really good to talk through. Now, I'm really lucky. I've got a really good relationship with all the teachers and things. I went in and spoke to their new teachers at the end of last term. I took photographs of the classroom. You can message the staff. Chances are, even if you feel like you haven't got much time, it's very unlikely your child will be going back to school the same day as the teacher. Normally they have what my children call an insect day beforehand, which is actually, it's pronounced insect, which is not as bad as the other pronunciation that some people have come up with, which is worse. But so we stick with insect, not the other mispronunciation. Anyway, chances are your child's new teacher will be in school, so you'll be able to contact them before your child goes. So if you have a child with autism, you've not yet had photographs, email the school office, or if you've got one of those like school communication apps, message the school teacher and say, look, is there any chance I could have photographs of the new space that they're going to be in? even if they've been for moving up days, it can be really helpful for them to have that, and you can show them and talk through them. So we looked at a lot at the end of term, and then now we're sort of heading towards the end of the summer. I'm going to start looking over those things with the children again, saying, look, how exciting your new classroom is going to look, and this is where you put your coat and who you're excited to be with, and just generally chat to them and prepare them. If there is a school timetable for the day, a lot of the information will be on your child's the school website. Just go through the website and pick through anything you think might be useful information for your child to know, and explain it to them. So it's like, oh, look, there might be like school dinner menus you can look at together, or information about snack time, anything like that at all, really. And again, the school like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, website, just show them like, look how fun this is going to be and how lovely it's going to be, and be kind of really positive about it. Make sure if your child has got autism, you try on all their uniform. Well, anyway, to be honest, but if your child's got autism, make sure you try on all the uniform. Pre-wash it so it's not too crunchy, because like sensory stuff. So it smells like all their other clothes and it's soft enough. Use whatever you're used to using, so there's no like, it feels funny. And then just check that there's no like itchy labels or anything, because that could be enough to ruin a day. Especially if you've got a child with additional needs, itchy labels can just start the whole day off and just way downhill from there. So yeah, there we go. Right, where are we? My child is going to year 9, has extreme anxiety autism, has been put on the radar, and she's not been to school since Easter break. Oh, bless her. Any tips you have to help her would be great. Anxiety seems to be a massive thing with teenagers, especially since the pandemic. There's so much of it. I think so many children are struggling. So, Mummy of 3 UK, hello. I don't think it's just your child. That doesn't make it any easier, but I think this is like, it's a bit of a widespread problem that I think that the school system has to address. Again, just preparing your child, perhaps the things like the folder system and like empowering them for, going in, perhaps making arrangements to sort of go in a staggered way if the school are okay with that. Like, even if it's just a case of, look, go in, manage your first few lessons, and then we'll talk to see how you're doing. Perhaps also try and get them to meet up with some friends or invite them over that they're going to be seeing in school, to kind of like bond those relationships, so they feel like they've got someone they're going in with and they don't feel like they're going in alone. Because if your child's been off since Easter, they might feel a little bit disconnected from their friends. So sort of do what you can to kind of get them together with their friends, so they're going in like as a group. Is this a friend they can walk in with or in on the bus with or whatever, and kind of pair them up that way, so they're not feeling like dropped in the deep end on their own, because that can feel really scary. Susie says, my child's got ASD and ADHD. Have you got some ideas to help with organisation? Tick list, absolutely, can be really, really helpful if it's something your child just struggles with, knowing what comes next. Visual timetable can be really good, so you can literally write out the times that things need to happen, put it somewhere they can see it, put it in their room, put it on the fridge, both perhaps, or if they've got a phone on the device, set alarms. So I just have all the alarms on my phone and the children hear them, because the house is not that big. But you could put them, if they've got their own device, on their own device to look through. You can set up things like recurring reminders on devices. Like, I'm not sure what did your Susie, you didn't say how old your child was. If your child is like teen and older, then perhaps they've got their own phone or something. You can set up reminders and things for them. If not, it's going to be like clipboard, checklist. All these are the things you need to get done, and then you can like have free time before you go. And then when you get home from school, these are the after school things you need to do. I did an after school routine video last year or the year before, but there's like quite a lot of detail about how to prepare for the next day in that. I love you so much. That's such a big fan. Thank you. That's lovely. Lindsay, the kids just broke up the last day of June and they've turned 9 and 12. Yeah, gosh, see, June feels really early because we're not used to that. And then going back, early. I guess it's the norm in Scotland, isn't it? Just compared to what we do here. When they don't go back to September, it feels like very early. Angela says, hi, hello. Any tips for a 2-year-old starting nursery soon? Yeah, again, for 2-year-old starting nursery, I'm assuming you're meaning more like a childcare kind of facility. Spares. And in fact, this goes for reception age children as well. If I'm honest, they're going to need spares, because even if your child is like really good with potty training, if they start a new school or childcare setting, chances are they may have accidents. They might just be too engaged in what they're doing and have accidents. So a child that, even though they've been potty trained for ages, may still regress. So spares, spares, spares. If anyone offers you like hand-me-down clothes, but you think, oh, do you know what, I've got loads, take them and chuck them in the bag as spares, because if you don't need them and they grow out to them, cool. Because that's what I say to people when like I'm passing on clothes. It's like, look, even if you don't really need them, just put them in the nursery bag, and if they get ruined, if they get stinking, it doesn't matter. Or leave them in your car, because I always, when the children were smaller, would have like spare clothes in the boot of the car, so I didn't have to pack them in a bag all the time. And then sometimes they would grow out of them before you needed them. So like hand-me-down or things that perhaps you wouldn't want to dress them in all the time are perfect for those situations. So for nursery, definitely pack a bag, label everything. Nurseries are like even worse than schools by all accounts for like losing things. So just label. If you want to see it again, stick a label on it. If you're not fast, then don't. If you want to never see it again, then don't label it. But yeah, labels, 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 labels. I can't say that enough. Right. So my next tip for organisation for starting school that I've got in this before you start in school is buy 5 of everything. Now, this obviously comes with a little caveat. Buy 5 of everything if it is appropriate to do so. So if you're buying school uniform in the supermarkets and it's really affordable, it makes sense. I would rather buy things slightly on the big side than too small, and buy 5 of them if I know that they're going to last them this year and probably next year. And certainly if you've got other children you can hand down to, make sure you've got 5 of everything. You can literally do all the washing on a Sunday or on a Saturday, Sunday, put it all out. We have those dividers. It goes like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you put everything you need for each day in each divider, down to pants and socks, and then there is no running around like a headless chicken on the school morning. Obviously, if you've got one of those schools that's like, you must have this stupidly expensive and it's got to be this exact blazer that costs a small fortune, getting 5 of everything is not going to be practical, unless you can get like cheaper supermarket things to go underneath the expensive thing. Older children especially won't necessarily need 5 jumpers, because like children on the weekends wouldn't necessarily like wear a hoodie and then put it straight in the wash. I hope they wouldn't get quite stinking. Small, tiny children in school are going to come out like, have you been dipped in something? So just to warn you, they are going to come out like so dirty. It's almost like, I sort of don't want to put you in the car because you're that dirty, you know, like, darling, what happened? Hopefully as they get a bit older, they won't be quite that stinking. So as they get a bit older, then maybe you can manage with like fewer tops and you just need to like change every day what's next to their skin. But the 5, if it's affordable to do so, 5 of everything is a game changer. And then just do this back to school stock take, because before I used to do this, I'd buy new stuff every September, then I'd be like, why have I got so much stuff? It's because I didn't check what I had. So this year I did a back to school stock take. Obviously they already had 5 of everything, so nothing was that worn, if that makes sense. So because I had 5 of everything, they only wore each thing once a week, didn't they? Whereas if I had 2 of everything, they would have been worn and washed more, and then perhaps they would have disintegrated. I would have needed to buy more anyway. So they did actually have enough uniform for now to keep them going until they grow. And now I can just buy uniform and it's like, actually, you've grown out of that a bit, I can get more, but they're fine for September. So uniforms, back to school stock take, game changer. And there is a list on the blog and a video of how to do all that and the lists and everything. Right, okay, where are we at? Okay, Angela, random question. But my oldest have chickenpox. Oof. I know my son with ASD will get it. Any advice on how to cope or explain it to him? Oof. How old is your child? We had a bit of a we're going to got an interesting time with chickenpox. My eldest had chickenpox, and other than he looked a little bit sort of, you know, scary, but he just wasn't bothered at all. And then he wasn't even ill, but I couldn't take him out because he looked like he shouldn't be taking him out, even when he was like cresting over. So it was something and nothing. Then we had a birthday party for William, who was just before his 3rd birthday. It was a joint birthday party. 2 weeks before I was due to go in to be induced with Zara. I thought, right, let's get all this birthday party malarkey out of the way before I go. This is like totally deviating from the story, but it's going somewhere honest. So we had this birthday party, and the day after the birthday party, half the class came out with chicken pox. I was like, ooh, great. I was like, okay, I'm not even going to think about it. So I went in, I had Zara on like the Thursday, something like that. Saturday night, I spiked a fever. I was rushed into hospital. It turns out I had sepsis. I was quite poorly. Sunday morning, I spoke to my husband. He's like, I can't come and see you because Bella and William have chicken pox. So it's the first time he'd ever solo parented. Like, he'd barely changed a nappy before that because I just done it. And he was totally thrown in the deep end. They were sobbing because they wanted mummy. I think if I'd been there, it wouldn't have been so bad. I think half of it was the trauma of me missing. But they looked awful, bless them. And it wasn't much fun. And then the hospital were like, yeah, your baby should be fine. We've tested your blood. You've got antibodies. But then Zara came down with it when she was 3 weeks old. And then they decided they wanted to take her into hospital for 10 days of IV antivirals. And I disappeared in the middle of the night with the baby again. And it was... So when you say chickenpox to me, I get a bit like... because it takes me back to that traumatic experience. But I think chickenpox doesn't have to be awful for everyone. How to explain it... it's that the thing is with children with autism, sometimes the things that look bad and scary are worse than the things that are actually bad. I find that in my experience with children anyway, like they'd get more upset about something that looked like a bad cut than something that perhaps was a bad that they couldn't see, if that makes sense. So it can be a bit worrying. I would probably find some sort of social story type thing. There's a Peppa Pig episode, for example, where she gets spots, isn't there? So show them that and just explain that it's a short-term thing, that it's not to be frightened about, and then preempt what you're going to need lotions and potions wise, and go and get some advice from a pharmacist. Apparently there's some new products on the market that have come out since my children had chickenpox, so therefore I don't know about them, but that are really good for cooling. So it's not just that awful chamomile stuff, that pink stuff. Was it calamine? Not chamomile, it's tea, isn't it? Calamine lotion. There are new products, so go and stock up on them. And do you know what? Maybe they won't even get it, or maybe they will just be one of those children that has 3 spots. But yeah, that would be my totally went off on a tangent story about chickenpox. Sorry about that, Angela. Okay, Susie, thank you. My child is 13 years. Okay, there we go. And Angela says he's 7. Yeah. Peppa Pig all the way, really. Peppa Pig's fab for explaining most things to children, even if they're too old for Peppa Pig. It's still a good way, like if you're going to the airport, there's an episode about an airport, if you, whatever you're going to go and do. So, I have been talking and talking. I wonder if there are other questions that I haven't. Oh, there we go. It's another one about tips about, make sure everything's going digital now, isn't it? So I've always said, make sure you've got one of those carabiners. I haven't got one here to show you. Get a carabiner and attach one of those little popper folders to your child's bag, so your teacher can put letters going back and forth. But on top of that now, make sure that the school office have got not just your up-to-date contact details, but your email address, and that you are on their email list, because generally lots of schools are doing email and things. Make sure they're not going to your spam folder, and make sure that as soon as you get that email, you get the dates from the email and you put them in your diary. Now, I've managed to persuade our school to set up a calendar to subscribe to, which is brilliant. So if your school isn't doing this, suggest they do it, because it's fab. So basically, I got them to set up a Google Calendar. They put, book day or World Book Day, not like individual book day, but you know what I mean? Like World Book Day, Sports Day, in the calendar. You subscribe to it, and then the calendar appears like magic on your phone. So that is amazing. But if your school is sending you out a newsletter, look for the section with the dates and get them in your calendar as early as possible. Because I have been that parent. This is why I kind of became into how can I be more organised? How can I be more organised? Because when my eldest started school, I just felt like I was rushing to catch up, and I didn't know it was World Book Day tomorrow and scrabbling around to find things. And it is so stressful. It just makes you feel, I still have moments all the time where I feel like a dreadful mother, but it just makes you feel like a dreadful mother, doesn't it? When you just feel like you're drowning in it all. So I definitely know how that feels. But you can minimise that by feeling a bit more in control, if you get the email and you've read it and you haven't yet had a chance to put it in your calendar, mark it as unread until you have dealt with it. So do not mark it as red. In fact, flag it, make it super important until you've taken those dates from the email newsletter and put them, when the school disco is, when the holidays are, when the inset days are, when the World Book Day is, and all that kind of thing. That's definitely going to be a game changer for feeling less like, oh, I can't believe this is tomorrow and I've got to stay up all night doing X, Y, and Z. It will help. Future you will thank you. Also find out the class timetable. Which day have they got to take whatever in? If it's your older children, which day they've got to take cookery stuff or whatever. If it's your younger children, schools seem to be leaning more and more towards, like, it never used to happen before COVID, but so many schools now are doing PE is on Wednesday, please come in kit, so they don't have to change in school. And it was initially because a COVID-y thing, but I think it must just be easier. So now, like, all of the last year, my middle two went in PE kit on certain days. My little one, the school teacher believed that actually getting themselves dressed was part of the learning, which I probably agree with. But equally, it is probably a pain in the backside for teachers to deal with. So just be on the lookout for that. It might be they have to go in totally different clothes on a certain day of the week. If you've got important letters and things that are being sent to you, take a photograph of them and store them in a notes app on your phone. I've always used Evernote for taking photos of letters and things, but you can use just the photos on your phone and store them in a separate folder, but make sure then you can search them. I like Evernote because you can physically type and search things, but you can actually do that in, like, iPhone photos now. Like, if you type kitchen into your iPhone photos, it's really spooky. It'll literally show you all the photos you've ever taken in your kitchen. It's like voodoo magic. Right, store the school's phone number in your phone, people. It's really helpful because you just never know when you have to phone the school to phone them in sick or late or whatever. And also you then know if the school is ringing you, which is important. Think about bedtime and morning routines sooner rather than later and eking them back in. So whatever you're doing now, like, figure out what time your children are going to bed now and then what time you need them to be going to bed, and thinking about just eking them, like, back closer and closer to where you need them to be. So it's not like, okay, you can stay up till midnight every night, but then tomorrow you're in bed by 7, so it's like there's a bit of a gradual move over. Through the summer, I actually keep a 5-2 routine with the children anyway. So we have 5 nights, not necessarily as early as school, but like a sensible early-ish bedtime. And then we have 2 nights of like a weekend. So they don't have to be on the weekend. We can swap them for different days, but they generally are on the weekends. And it really does help when transitioning back to September. It would have been so much easier if he was in school. They could help explain the tips and explain it to him before he got it. Yeah, I know, it's difficult, isn't it? But yeah, if your other children have got Braxton chickenpox, if your other children have got it, then you can say, see, little Joey or whatever your other children are called, they've got it and they're okay, and it's going to take this long, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? When you just know they're going to have to go through something, but or perhaps speak to the GP in advance, or perhaps if there's like a pharmacist or someone that can actually speak to your child, sometimes that can help. Oh yeah, the other one, check your children's school bags. Do it at least every weekend, but probably every night, because otherwise you just end up with, they become like a Mary Poppins bag of junk and food and crumbs and ugh. So yes. Right, Karen Tracy says, I would love your opinion on boys wearing cardigans to school. Not sure whether to buy my son one. Thanks. Entirely up to you. Personally, the girls like cardies. William prefers hoodies. He's mostly, and the school have been really chill about the uniform, so I've just been like, whatever makes you happy. He didn't like the overhead ones when he was smaller. He preferred the zip-up hoodies, and a lot of children do, because sometimes the overhead thing can be a bit stressful. But now he's actually going to year 6, so he's got like leavers hoodies. But yeah, if your son wants to wear a cardigan, if that's what he'd like to wear, then that's what he's comfortable in. If the school are okay with it and you're okay with it, go for it. If not, but speak to your child's school, I guess. It really depends how strict they are on uniform. Like, our school is really very chill on uniform, and other schools, even within the same town, are really quite strict. So I guess it just depends on the individual school. And that's the same whether it's got to be like badged uniform, bought from a certain place and exact, or actually as long as it's sort of navy or sort of red or whatever, then we're cool with that. So, I'm going to go and check on my babies now. My husband's been doing the running up and down the stairs. They're normally pretty good at settling. And the day that it's like, right, Mummy's got to do a live tonight, they're like, but I'll miss you. It's like, I'm not leaving the house, guys. I'm still here. Just, if you need anything, it'll be Daddy going up and down the stairs till Mummy's finished her live. And it's so that I can like spend time with you in the day. That's why I'm doing it. And they're like, oh. Zara said, oh, I hate it when you do lives. It's like, but darling, it's while you're in bed. So... oh well, anyway, so hope you're all okay. Next week's live will be on, I will actually change blinking logo, honestly, when I'm up it. I just did a live on my Disney channel, which is why the Disney thing was up there. I did it on my Disney Patreon. So next week's live is on my Disney because I've got a Disney Lamb Paris Q&A and I've got a trip announcement that I'll be sharing. Alex has just said the BBC iPlayer, they do episodes about chickenpox on Get Well Soon and Arthur, if that helps. Oh, that's good. Yeah, okay, we haven't watched much iPlayer lately. They've been all about Disney Plus. But yes, be happy, be healthy and get well soon. They'll talk about it. Dr. Ranj, why didn't I think of Dr. Ranj? He's amazing. He will explain it. Good call there, Karen. Yes. Alex. Tracy, not sure about the school. Would find it easier. Your son would find it easier. Is it the over the head thing with the cardigan? Because the other options is up at hoodie. Steph, thank you, Ree. You're amazing. Such a breath of fresh air. Oh, thank you. Speaking of breath of fresh air, I need to go and open some windows because it's darn warm in here and under these lights. I am melting. So I am going to go and literally breathe some fresh air. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Hope you'll join me next Tuesday. Don't forget to tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. for a morning routine.